Hey everybody, welcome back out to the range. Trigger Bar Philosopher here. We're going to be doing another test in our 380 ACP series. Today we're going to be looking at the 90 grain XTP bullet from a Hornady American Gunner. We've got our Bodyguard 2.0. Should be a good time. Let's get you shooting. Okay, so in previous tests, we've tested this Underwood XTP bullet. It's also the 90 grain bullet, and it did perform very well in our gel test and our real world simulation, where we have 2 inches of gel followed by 1/4 inch of medium density fiberboard or MDF, followed by more ballistic gel, and then in front of it we have clothing layers. And we see that the XTP generally performs pretty well, flattening out just enough, but yet still getting enough penetration. With 380 ACP, it's kind of a balancing act between hollow point expansion and getting deep enough penetration. You get too much expansion, you may not get in deep enough. You don't get enough expansion, and the bullet isn't doing a whole lot of damage in the intended target. So today, we had good performance out of this Underwood loading. We're going to compare it, but mostly focus on our Hornady American Gunner. Okay, so this is our testing setup. Here we have the layers of t-shirt. I've got my contraption to hold 2 inches of gel in there, and then the regular 16-inch block, followed by a black-up block that's all dirty and messy. I don't expect any of these bullets to go past that. That would be 18 inches and 18 1/4 inches when we add our medium density fiberboard in here. So yeah, that's our testing. We'll do shots without the medium density fiberboard and with the medium density fiberboard and see how these bullets perform. Let's get shooting. Okay, well, we have the XTP. We have no MDF in the block. Let's see if we can pick it up with the Garmin. Might have gone a little high. Let's see where it went in the gel. But what we have is the bullet didn't expand at all. It started tumbling at about that 10-inch mark and got out to what is the 18-inch mark, because remember, we have 2 inches of gel down at this end. So that clothing caught it up. It's just right here on the edge, so I will pull it out. It's an interesting result because in our Underwood bullets that we tested recently, and you can see the little bit of clothing still caught in there, and I'm sure it dumped it as it started tumbling. But in our Underwood XTP testing, it got almost 100 feet per second faster, even on the standard pressure non-plus P loads. And we got expansion with it, especially without the medium density fiberboard. So kind of an interesting result that losing 100 feet per second, probably not a good thing, especially in this Bodyguard 2.0. All right, well, that's an interesting result. Now we're going to shoot both rounds. We're going to shoot the Hornady XTP American Gunner loaded round and the Underwood, because they're both Hornady bullets. Sorry, I'm stumbling over words, but we're going to shoot the Underwood and the American Gunner loaded rounds and do a comparison side by side when we have the medium density fiberboard in there. I wanted to use this as a control test. So longer barrel would probably do better, and yeah. Next up, we have the American Gunner with the Bodyguard 2.0. Let's see how it does with the medium density fiberboard in front of it. Let's see what we got. We didn't pick it up. I think the top view is going to be the best on this because the bullet tracks come close to one another, and where the first round was tumbling, we're seeing some of the other track kind of get caught up in. But we see we actually got expansion. So adding the MDF caused the expansion. That calls into question the whole thing about the gel, because sometimes there have been folks who have shown this, that bullets will expand in organic gelatin and not clear ballistic gelatin, and that organic gelatin is a better representation of what the bullets will actually do in tissue, and which is yet again another reason why perhaps this is a good addition to make this more real world, is it gives it something just a little bit, because they say the gel isn't quite as hard and to push through, and so it doesn't have enough oomph to open it up. But we saw it opening up just a little bit. Let me try and dig this out here. We say just the beginnings of opening. You know, it's not doing much more damage, but you tell the 2 wound tracks down at this, just barely, nothing. Really just kind of separated the tissue. But you can see the trail with the MDF, that dark brown. This bullet did some damage where the other one didn't expand at all. And so, yeah, I think those 2 comparisons tell the tale. Hopefully I can change where I'm hitting in this gel. And we'll now try the Underwood, which should be a little bit faster. Okay, well, we now have the Underwood loaded XTP bullet. We'll see how it does, see if we can catch it on the Garmin to see if we can get a differences, but it's almost about 80 or 90 feet per second faster in my previous testing than what the Hornady is. And you can definitely feel it. So that's 1,002. You can hear it, you can feel it. It's a heavier, stouter loaded round. Again, that is the standard pressure, not the plus P pressured round. Let's go down and see what it looks. Again, 1,002. It's hard to see, but the expansion on the Underwood round continued out to that 10-inch mark versus I think it stopped a little bit sooner. And definitely we had the power to keep going, just that extra bit of penetration. Is that over penetration? I don't think so. I think 18 inches for this round, because I just think it doesn't have much energy out at this point, is a great round. You're not going to have over penetration with this round. I thought it does pretty good for what we're looking at. Again, let me take this off so you get a better look. Just looking at, this was the Hornady loaded round by American Gunner. This is the Underwood round loaded by Underwood. These are the exits. Pretty similar size holes and diameters. Maybe a little bit bigger on the one from Underwood. And let's take a look at these 3 rounds. This is the one without the MDF. This is the American Gunner with the MDF. And then this is our, you can see there's still a bunch of clothing lodged in it. You take out the denim. We had 2 layers of t-shirt, 2 layers of denim, and it looks fairly nice. Could it expanded more? Yes, but you know, and we see this is the challenge with the XTP, is it's not going to expand as much as a HST round will do. They expand just a little bit better, but you know, that's this is that medium spot, deep enough penetration, a little bit of expansion, better wound tracks. And so I think it's worth it. And again, I have a video if you're like, well, you should just use an FMJ. I have videos on that. I would still rather use these rounds in the 380 than the FMJ. So I think this is something good to learn. I'm not knocking the American Gunner. If you have a longer 380, I would probably use that. But for self-defense, I would probably stick to the Underwood. It's probably a little bit more expensive, but I think that extra power is probably worth it. And again, I would probably stick to the standard velocity instead of the plus P. The standard velocity is doing very nice in this. Okay, now let's get some velocities off this Hornady American Gunner XTP bullet. 837, 880, 875, 894, 895. Looks like I loaded quite a few in here. I don't think I meant to load that many. I'm going to be shooting all of my ammo. Let's check a quick look at our session summary. And so for our min, we had 837, our average of 886, our max of 911, extreme spread of 74, standard deviation of 21.8, and the average kinetic energy of 157. And to make up for using too many of the American Gunner, I'm going to use only 3 shots here because I have some series. I actually have 2 series where I do velocity testing with this XTP bullet, the standard pressure. Let's just get, for the sake of completeness in this video, you get an idea of what the velocity differences are. 996, 1006, and 983. That's quite a bit lower, and that's in the range of what the Hornady was doing. But in general, you're talking 50, 60 feet per second more. Not quite what the box is predicting, but the Hornady isn't getting what the box is. The American Gunner isn't getting what the box is predicting. So for our min, we had 943, our average of 982, max of 1006. extreme spread of 63 and the average kinetic energy of 192, so almost 40 foot-pounds of energy. And that's like I don't know, that's like a fifth more, so that's significantly more kinetic energy out of this, and that's probably why those bullets are expanding with the Underwood rounds. Okay, we're at about 5 yards. We have some rounds of this American Gunner. I'm not going to test the Hornady or the Underwood because I've already tested that. It's fine. It's as accurate as it should be, and that's really what I'm just kind of seeing is if, you know, do we get wild flyers with this? It is a measure of how well I can shoot this handgun, of course, but I have a whole video series, almost 20 videos in this series, where you can see comparing these rounds of how they perform out of the Bodyguard, so I want to remain consistent with that. What I am going to change up is we're going to use the goggle cam, and we'll see if we can make sense of what the accuracy is. From that, we're going to try to get all 5 rounds in that 2x2 square. How about that? No! No! I didn't do it! Oh, I have more. I loaded more. Ah! I dropped 2 out. That totally sucks. Let's go up there and look. That's what it is. Almost, but I dropped 2. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. Today we took a look at the American Gunner by Hornady, XTP bullet 90 grain loaded by Hornady, and we did some comparisons with the Underwood XTP. They're both the same bullet. It's just how the manufacturers make the cartridges and the powders in it. And what we saw, in my opinion, is pretty clear winner, which is the Underwood, in that it's loaded just a little bit more powerful. And that makes all the difference when you're using these low power handguns and these bullets that are supposed to don't quite get enough velocity to really expand. And we saw expansion in the Underwood, and we didn't see it in the American Gunner. I mean, we saw a little bit when we went through the MDF, which is kind of curious in and of itself. But for me, it's going to be the Underwood, even though you have to pay just a little bit more. If you have a little bit longer handgun, maybe this American Gunner is worthwhile. And if you'd like me to test that on some of my other 380 ACP handguns that have longer barrels, I can do that in a future test. So let me know what you guys think on the comparison of these 2 rounds. I think XTP is a good bullet. It balances that expansion versus penetration very nicely. It doesn't expand super wide, but it gets a bit expansion, do more disruption in the gel than other bullets. And I think that that's probably worth it. So I hope everyone has a great week. Love to hear your thoughts on the comments, and let's get to shooting. The Second Amendment.